So having done my first 10k race in about 4 years, I had to retrain to do that sort of distance, and I've learned a few things along the way that I wish I knew before I started. So today I'm going to share with you what those things are. So in no particular order, here's the first thing that I wish I knew before I started my 10k training. So the one thing that I keep hearing about is that how important your running form is. That's something that I've not really considered in the past when I did it before, but now looking into it in a bit more depth, I have kind of read a lot of things about running form and how it can improve your performance and your running speed. So that's definitely something I've been trying to work on. At the moment when I go out running, I do try and think about my form and my kind of posture as I run, but it's definitely not as good as it should be in terms of how fast I can run or in general how my performance is doing. So it's something I will still consciously be thinking about when I go out running, and just a lot of videos I kind of been watching about running form and cadence as well. So it's kind of like faster little steps is actually better than doing long strides as you run, and to aim to have kind of the mid sole of your feet to land on the ground rather than the heel. So I feel like when I feel like I want to run faster, I end up doing longer strides, which then means my heel touches the ground first, and I think that kind of stops me from performing a bit faster or being able to run faster, because I'm kind of constantly putting the brakes on as my foot lands on the ground. That's something that I've learned through watching videos and reading articles online, and also it's better on your joints and your legs because you're taking less impact if you land on the middle of your feet rather than the heel of your feet. So that's something that I'm definitely working on, and hopefully that's going to improve my performance and my speed in future runs. The other thing that I've learned throughout the training is that motivation only gets you so far if you want to achieve something that's quite difficult for yourself. For me, I thought if I just feel motivated and I keep myself motivated by looking at other people's kind of success stories and looking at their pictures and then watch them run and see like how good they look and what they've achieved from kind of doing nothing to doing a marathon and things like that. And I thought if I just keep feeding myself with that sort of motivation, then that will be enough to keep me going in my training. But I've learned quite quickly that motivation doesn't last as long as you might think, and you do eventually run out of that motivation. Discipline is definitely the thing to focus on rather than motivation. Obviously at the start, motivation is very good when you come up with something new that you want to do, and when you kind of discover a new hobby, it's very easy to kind of stick to it because you've got the motivation which pushes you to start that one thing that you've always wanted to do. But then what actually gets you through to the end result and succeeding is discipline. So that's another thing that I've learned during my training. The other thing I learned isn't really a surprise because I've done it before, but running can get very boring. I think when I first started training, I thought, oh, this time is different because I have something to focus on, and it's something that's making my mental health better and improving, and I can definitely feel it. So I think, oh, because I've got a different purpose, running's not going to feel the same as I've done it in the past. But it turns out that running eventually does get very boring, especially like me when I've been running the same kind of route. I know I need to switch it up, that's something else that I need to work on, but if you run the same route and you run kind of the same time every day or every time you go out, and then you do it 3 times a week, every week, eventually it just gets a little bit mundane and repetitive. So what I do is I generally listen to podcasts because it takes my mind off things, and it generally just keeps me a little bit more engaged and not think about the actual running and the step after step after step. It's just something that I can think about and just forget about what I'm actually doing at the time in terms of the actual running. So listening to podcasts is something that helps if you get a little bit bored with your running routine. The other thing that I've learned throughout my training is that I definitely don't eat enough of the right foods to fuel my runs. I've never been really good at kind of my diet and what I eat and eating the right foods and being healthy. So now that I'm adding more distance to my run and being more active in general, so I either work out or go for a run 5 or 6 times a week, every week at the moment. So I'm a lot more active than I was. So coming from someone who isn't very good with their diet to start with, to now having to think more about food and increasing their food intake as well, has kind of been a bit of a struggle for me. I'm not someone who likes to think about food, and generally if I could just have one meal a day, I'll be quite happy with that. And that does happen quite regularly. I know it's very unhealthy, but sometimes I just can't be bothered to kind of think about food. I know it sounds like really lazy, but that's just me. I'm just not someone who constantly likes to think about food, and I don't like to like always be eating. So ideally I'd want to just have like one meal a day and that'll be it. In the past I've even said things like, if I could take a pill that had the right nutrition and just everything that I need to keep me alive, sometimes I think that's just an easier option. I mean, I do enjoy food and I do enjoy tasty food, and I do eat out and things like that, but on a day-to-day, especially during the week, I don't like thinking about food. I don't like preparing food. I just don't like that side of kind of food and diet. So that's just me personally. So I found that being more active and running more, I need to think about the food side of things a little bit more, which has been for me a bit of a struggle. So that's something else that I've learned, that if I want to keep going with the running and I want to do well, and I don't want to be injured, or I don't want to be too tired or exhausted, then I have to work harder on being better at eating and eating the right food. And talking about food, the other thing that I learned during my training is that I'm always hungry, which doesn't actually help with the last point that I mentioned, that I don't like thinking about food and always kind of preparing or thinking ahead of what I might have to bring to work, or when am I going to eat, and just the whole thing of thinking about food. But as you increase your activities and being more active, you are generally going to be more hungry because you are burning more calories. But it's something I didn't really think about when I started kind of my training. Obviously, I knew that the more active you are, the more calories you're going to burn, but I just didn't think like how hungry I was going to feel throughout the day. I feel like I would eat and just never feel full enough, and then already I'm feeling hungry. So I just kind of feel like I'm constantly eating at the moment. Yeah, that's just something that I've also learned during my training. Another thing I learned is that it's so easy to wear too much when you go out for a run. I'm someone who always feels the cold quite a lot. So if it's kind of a little bit colder outside, I would worry about I'm going to be freezing. So I would start layering up, and then I'll go out, and 5 minutes into my runs, normally I just start to feel really hot and I have to take layers off. So I've learned to not wear too much, or just brace the cold when I first step out, and within 5 minutes I know I'll warm up and it won't be a problem. And that also happened on my 10k race on Sunday. I was wearing a long sleeve thinking, oh, it's very cold out. So it was quite cold when I was standing around waiting. So I kept jumping and hopping to kind of keep myself warm. But as soon as I started running, probably within the 5 minutes and the sun was out, I started to feel really hot. And at that point, I wish I had a short sleeve top or a sleeveless top just to kind of keep me cool. But yeah, it's just so easy to wear too much when you first go out for a run. And I've mentioned numerous times before, it's getting dark, it's getting cold, and it's raining a lot in the mornings when I go out. But I've also learned that things like that doesn't actually kill you. Running in the rain is actually fine because you are waterproof, you're not going to melt, you're not going to dissolve, nothing's going to happen really. Basically, you just go out and run whatever the weather and you'll survive, you'll be fine. And that's something that I used to always think, oh, it's raining, I don't want to go out, oh, it's too dark, oh, it's a bit windy, I don't think I can run in the rain. But as you do it, and the more you do it, you just realize it doesn't matter. You just gonna go for a run, come back, and you feel good that you've actually done it as well. Bad weather really isn't going to cause you any damage. Towards the end of my training, and after I've done my actual 10k race, I figured that I need to mix up my training a little bit more. I constantly focused on running the distance and adding distance every week, and not really doing any other types of training other than strength training. So 2 or 3 days a week I would do kind of a bit of weightlifting and do strength training at home. So that's the only other exercise I kind of added to my training. But in terms of the actual runs, I feel like I needed to do a little bit of hill training and speed training, which I haven't done, and I felt like that really impacted the actual race day. And just towards the end of the actual training, I just didn't feel like I was improving in terms of how fit I felt. I just felt like I've been running for 9 weeks, surely I should feel a lot fitter and my lungs should feel like a lot stronger, but it didn't. And I feel like because I wasn't mixing up my training enough, that's definitely something I learned throughout the training, and something I'm going to improve in the future. So the other thing I mentioned in one of my other videos realize is the importance of rest days. I used to think, oh, as long as I'm not pushing too hard and I just keep going, then I'll become stronger and I'll be able to run faster and run longer. So I'll just keep going, keep pushing. And like one of the points that I mentioned earlier about discipline, I thought I can't miss it no matter what. And to me, in my mind, I thought as long as I don't miss a run and I push myself through all the difficult thoughts and whatever my body was telling me, just push through it and go for a run and you'll be fine. But it turns out that no, sometimes you really need to listen to your body. And if your body is saying it's tired, exhausted, it's in pain, you need to stop. You just need to listen to it, give yourself some time to rest. Even if you just stop for a day or two or even more, just however long you need just to recover a bit and give your body a chance to heal. It is telling you something for a reason. So it's something that I've definitely learned throughout the training, because there was one time where I regretted going out for a run. I just written off the whole day. I just felt terrible after pushing myself on to go out for that run. And sometimes you really do need to listen to your body to avoid injuries and just generally not feel demotivated, because even if you push yourself to go for that run, sometimes it's going to end up being a very bad run and it will just feel like, oh, you're going backwards and you just want to give up because it's horrible, etc. So sometimes just listen to your body, and that's definitely something I have learned in my training, and I will listen to my body more in the future. Another thing, and it's a very big thing that I've learned after I've started running, is how much it improves your physical health and mental health. That's one of the things that I've been mentioning in my other videos. Just anytime I talk about running is how much it does to your mental health. It's helped me massively. And without actually giving running a go this time, I wouldn't have realized how big an impact exercise is to having a healthier mind. It's always been something that I hear about people say or they write about, and it's always about how good exercise makes you feel and how it improves your mental health. But to me, it was always like, yeah, everyone says that, I know. And it's never something I've actually taken action on. But this time, it wasn't necessary to try and improve my mental health. I just wanted to change something in my life, and I started running, and all the things that I heard about and heard people say in the past is actually true, and it really does help your mental health. And I can't stress enough kind of how much it has helped me. So I hope that this is something that other people would benefit as well if they are able to go out for a run or able to go out and work out, exercise, or go for a walk. It really does help with your mind and your thoughts and everything like that. It's definitely something that's very healthy for you. I remember there was one morning where I woke up with a pounding headache and I didn't want to go out for a run. I just really wanted to stay in bed, but I pushed myself to go out, even though I said listen to your body, but hey. But that morning I pushed myself to go out for a run, and I would say within 2 or 3 minutes of running, my headache was gone, and I didn't even realize that was gone at the time. It was only after I got back home, had a shower, and then thought, oh yeah, I woke up with a headache. And I remember my first kind of few minutes of running, my head was pounding with every step I took, but it actually went away during my run and I didn't even realize. And it just really makes me think how much it helps just by being active. Just even if it's not running, just go out for a walk and get fresh air. I feel like that just does your whole body good. It's just both physically and mentally. So just do something that's good for your body and mind. It doesn't cost you anything. It's all free and it makes you feel better. So even if it did cost money, I feel like it's so worth it of how much you feel after you've done something like that. So yeah, keep running, keep being active. So those were the things that I've learned during my 10K training and preparation. It's definitely very valuable lessons to me. I hope these have been helpful to you, or something that you've come across as well, or let me know if there are other things that you've learned since you started running. I'll be very interested to know about those things as well. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, and if you wouldn't mind subscribing to my channel, that would be absolutely appreciated. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.